Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we've got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten as we just had a huge game. Michigan fall to Michigan State at home. Just a week ago, Michigan was battling with Purdue, taking them down at home. Michigan State was going through a little bit of a lull. Well, it seems that they found themselves now as they take down Michigan 75 to, 62 in this one. Absolute stellar game by Michigan State. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Dusty May extension. We're going to preview the Illinois versus Duke game coming up tomorrow and the Wisconsin and Oregon game coming up as well. I have one of the best in the biz here to do it with me, Shaps, Java Shaps, as they call him on the podcast, from the Java Men. Shaps, it's been a while. I'm glad to see you again.
It has been a while. Yeah. We were just saying before, it's hard to keep up with these schedules nowadays. And unfortunately, this is still my side gig. So, it's hard to find the time between the job that actually, puts food on the table and watching all these games. But yeah, glad to be back on.
Yeah, unfortunately, podcasting doesn't put too much food on the table for us either yet. But we'll see what happens with Big Ten After Dark. Maybe it'll turn into food on the table after work. Who knows?
That'd be great. Yeah.
That's what we want. So, all right, everybody, we're going to get into it all. It's going to be a great episode, and I'm super excited. So, I think we just got to get straight into it. Michigan State defeats Michigan 75-62 in this one. Trey Donaldson finishes with only 3 points for Michigan, and the guards of Michigan State could seemingly do no wrong for points of this game. Jace Richardson has the high of 21 points. Trey Holloman 18 points. Jeremy Fears Jr. with 10 points. Jordan Akins with 11 points. Didn't really get all that much from your big men. You had Carson Cooper with 6, Jackson Kohler with 2. Like, they didn't really do a whole lot in this game, but it really proved to be the backcourt play for Michigan State in this one. Shaps, what'd you see in this game? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you said it. I think the guard matchup was the difference here. Richardson and Holloman had 39 points combined. Donaldson and Gale had 8 points combined. That was the story of this one, I thought. Bad night for the why don't you just play zone against them crowd that thinks like, oh, if you just play zone against Michigan State, you basically can't lose. Not really the case, especially if your offense basically disappears. Yes, Michigan State was turning the ball over a lot in the first half, but I think Michigan had a chance in the first half to basically have a good lead at halftime, and they were only up by 4, and Michigan shot like 35% from the field, or Michigan State did in the first half. They were really struggling turning the ball over, but Michigan was missing a ton of free throws and just didn't pull away when they had the chance, really. Michigan State seemingly made the adjustment in the second half to the zone. Yeah, I mean, I think most people think that if you stop Michigan State from running, getting out and running, then you have a good chance of beating them. And Michigan did, but I think it was their offense that really just disappeared. And especially the guards just did not show up at all.
Yeah, didn't show up on offense, didn't show up on defense either. That's a really bad combination for Michigan. We were saying earlier in the year that, Michigan had a defense problem when it comes to guards, and they seemingly fixed things as the year went on, and they kind of, were able to piece things together in close games and really rely on Danny Wolf, and Trey Donaldson would make some big shots here and there. But, I mean, 3 points from Trey Donaldson tonight, that's just not enough. Danny Wolf with how many do you have in the entire game? He had 11 points. And so when your guards aren't doing all that much, I mean, Vlad Golden is Vlad Golden. You're going to get somewhere between 15, 20, 21 tonight. So you're going to get somewhere between there from him just about every single night. It's just who he is and it's what he gives you. But pretty much everybody else, like, you got nearly nothing. Amari Burnett gives you 2 3-pointers. Those were big, but at the end of the day, this gave me signs of what we saw from Michigan earlier in the season in the second half, right? We saw guard play that wasn't up to the caliber of a team that wins the Big Ten. And then also, like, I'm not calling this team soft, but for stretches of this game, they looked kind of soft down low. They looked like they didn't want to get the rebounds, and Michigan State was getting some of those rebounds to end the game. Gave me a little bit, and Shaps, I don't want to bring it up and hurt your feelings or anything, but gives me a little bit of the Illinois vibes from that game when at the end, or in the last 2 or 3 minutes, it just felt like Michigan State got every single rebound. It's what it turned into in this game. The last 4 minutes, Michigan State goes on a 9-0 run. Michigan doesn't get a single point in those last 9 minutes of the game. I mean, is
Wow.
this Michigan State's superpower closing out games?
Seemingly, yes, because obviously they're well coached, but they just understand who they are, I think, at this point. Um, they just come at you in waves. Holloman is really the spark for them, it seems like. He can do things on both ends of the court for them, and he just brings the energy. I mean, Fears is banking in threes. It's probably going to be a rough night for you. But that just builds their confidence even more. And they have those scrappy guys down low that just are going to go after every rebound and keep things alive. And it looked like Michigan just kind of ran out of gas at the end, too. They asked their big guys, obviously, to do so much, and, Cheddar can't go 30 seconds without fouling somebody. So it just puts so much pressure on Wolf and Vlad. And it just, the guards are just not helping them out at all, which I don't understand, because like Donald, they have such a veteran team, all over the court. Burnett had a pretty good game. He's at like his seventh school, including high school.
Yeah.
So, but he played really well. It's just the two lead guards. I mean, Gale and Donaldson, you just expect more from those guys, and they've just been very inconsistent, and that's capping the ceiling for this team. Because I've been most impressed with Michigan probably more than anyone, because I always just thought they were the most intriguing team, matchup wise. Like they could just do a lot of things, but I was expecting their guards to be so much better. And when they're just two big guys basically trying to do everything, it's
Yeah.
only going to take you so far.
Yeah, I mean, Namari Burnett did what they asked him to in this game. He put up shots and made them 2 for 5 from 3 point. He was 5 for 8 overall in the game. Like, you asked him to put up a shot and he put it up and he made it. This was a very Namari Burnett game. But on the other side, you had Trey Donaldson go 1 for 5 in this game, and you had Roddy Gale go 1 for 6 with 2 turnovers. Now, the turnovers were not the glaring issue here for Michigan. If you look at the box score, you see 15 turnovers for Michigan, and you might say, oh, yeah, this was glaring issue. It was an issue, don't get me wrong, but I mean, the rebounding more than anything else was the issue for me. In this
Mm-hmm.
game, Michigan State gets 14 offensive rebounds. Michigan gets 18 defensive rebounds. They had nearly as many offensive rebounds as Michigan had total defensive rebounds. And to their credit, Michigan State only had 20 defensive rebounds, so they almost had as many offensive rebounds as Michigan State had defensive rebounds. But
Mm-hmm.
like, if you're not going to be able to rebound the ball, and I know like I get it. Who was it? Who was it to say? Yeah, Philip is saying like Wolf had 5 rebounds bounce out of his hands. I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like he was in position at times, but you still need those scrappy players in those moments. I mean, there were times when there were 4 Michigan players around the ball after it bounced, and there's one Michigan State guy there. Guess who comes up with the ball? The Michigan State guy, because they're scrappier, they're in it more, and they're playing more physical to try and get in there and get the rebounds. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than this was the Michigan team that we saw at the beginning of the year. This is a Michigan State team that has grown throughout the year. Not just fast break points, not just good guard play, but you had 40% shooting from three as well in this game. If Michigan State is going to shoot 40% from three, there's not many teams in the country, maybe a handful in the country that are going to guarantee beat this team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the defense is always going to be the same against, the game plan is going to be the same against Michigan State. You're going to try to pack the middle, and you're going to basically let them shoot threes because they're one of the worst in the country at it. But they did the same thing against Illinois. We didn't contest on their threes, and they just kept hitting them. So that's what I mean. If they're hitting those shots, like that's what takes them from, maybe like a Sweet 16 team to Elite Eight or Final Four team. Um, when their guards are actually hitting shots and are at least a threat to knock down those open shots, not just Richardson, but other guys as well.
Yeah, this Michigan team is one of those teams that can absolutely make the Elite Eight or something like that, but it's going to be a run where everything goes right for them if that happens. It's not going to be a run where they grind out a dirty game and they're able to win. I mean, maybe they do that once, but you're going to face really good competition in the tournament. And point blank, if you have a team that is going to make you grind it out toward the end, like this game against Michigan State, you saw that they weren't able to grind it out. They weren't able to get it. So it's unfortunate for Michigan fans, really, really good for Michigan State fans, as I do believe they are atop the Big Ten standings now. Am I correct on that?
I think Michigan was up in the loss column because
Yes.
but
So,
I think Michigan State's played
yes,
more games if I remember
you are correct. Michigan
looking at
State
it.
is 13-3. Michigan is 12-3. And the other people that are really happy about this are Wisconsin fans, because Wisconsin fans know Michigan State and Michigan play each other again. Wisconsin has a pretty easy schedule to end the season, and it's not the easiest schedule in the world for Michigan State. I'm not saying it's a lot Illinois hard or anything like that, but it's not the easiest schedule to end the season for either of those. So you get if Wisconsin wins out and you get a loss from Michigan and Michigan State, which one of these teams is guaranteed another loss because they play each other, you could look at least a tie for the Big Ten title for Wisconsin.
Yeah, this was such a huge win for Michigan State because not only were they, trailing by a half a game, but they have a much harder schedule remaining than Michigan does. So anything can happen. There's still a lot of basketball left.
Very true. Very true. All right, let's look at Dusty May really fast. So this contract extension comes up. Dusty May agrees to an extension with Michigan. He increased 1 year for $1 million, and according to Matt Norlander, the buyout is now $7.5 million. When it comes to contract extensions, I don't really care how many years you get. I don't really care how much more money you get. All I care is that buyout, baby. And Matt Norlander put that buyout on Blue Sky. I think he's trying to get people to go over there, which whatever, to each their own. I don't care where you consume your social media at, but he put it out over there, and quickly the screenshots came on over to Twitter, so everybody found it there. But I mean, Shaps, what do you make of this? Like Dusty May gets his extension. I I thought it would have been a little bit higher, but at the same time, like I also see some Indiana fans saying like it's over, no way are we getting him. So I don't know, like where do you stand on this, Shaps?
Yeah, well, Michigan might regret it now after this game.
Well, that's
Um,
true.
bad timing, I guess. But no, it made sense. I mean, Dusty's done a pretty incredible job. There were certain Java men that thought he would not be a good hire for Michigan, and they're being proved very wrong. Um, it's been impressive how quickly he's turned it around for sure. So not surprised that they give him, yeah, one of these fake extensions. Uh, I can't imagine that he would go to Indiana. Um, it does. I mean, Indiana's not a better job than Michigan right now, so I would be quite shocked if he did that. That's part of the Indiana delusion, thinking that oh, we can get the Celtics GM to come be our coach, and there's just no world where that is humanly possible. They think now they can steal Dusty May away when they could have just probably hired him last year if they got rid of Woodson, which every single person knew it wasn't going to work out with Woodson. So they were just delaying the inevitable there. Now Indiana, I'm sure you saw Rick Pitino on Pardon My Take earlier today said that they should look at Chris Beard. I always thought Chris Beard was like a great target for them because I
Yeah.
thought it was realistic. I mean, I'm not that deep into Indiana Twitter, but you see that a lot of the replies on that video of Patino saying like they seem to think that they're better than than Chris Beard, or they can do significantly better. Like, oh, he hasn't won anything. Guy's like won everywhere he's been. I mean, I know he's got off the court issues. Otherwise, he'd still be at Texas, probably doing really well. So like,
Yeah, they wouldn't
if
have hot seat coach conversations with Rodney Terry like they're having right now.
right, yeah, exactly. That was such a bad hire, but
imagine how bad Ohio State fans feel. They did the same thing, and both schools are like, "Shoot, we should have done this."
It never works. Like, it never works out to just hire the interim guy. It's a flash in the pan thing. But Indiana thinking that Chris Beard is not a good hire. I mean, if you don't want to hire him because of the off the court stuff, that's one thing. But the guy's a tremendous coach, and like, he's at Ole Miss doing quite well in a really difficult SEC, and Ole Miss probably has like the least amount of resources of any SEC basketball team, or one of the lowest. So yeah, I mean, I would be very worried if Indiana hired Chris Beard. I think he would be a problem. But that's, like, they think they're going to get Bruce Pearl, or Scott Drew, or like one of these guys. It's just not even like, that's just the Indiana delusion that they think, who wouldn't want this incredible job, but they still think it's, 1984 or something.
I have my Indiana hoodie on tonight. No worries, Indiana fans. Don't. This is not an anti-Indiana. No, I hear what you're saying though.
Telling them the truth.
I hear what you're saying though. Like, Indiana is not, it's not in the big huge state like Texas is or something like that. They don't have the oil money of like Texas A&M. This is still a school that cares a lot about their basketball and wants to see things happen for their program, and that's what I have told every single Indiana fan who tells me, no, we don't want Chris Beard. And I get that. I get from the moral standpoint, the off the court stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you really do want to be a winner at Indiana, if you really do want to be a for sure winner, there is nobody out there on the market that's going to, for sure take this job that is a for sure winner other than Chris Beard. Dusty May, probably a for sure winner. But he just had that extension. The buyout isn't all that high, but still, who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to take the job. I don't think that's a for sure thing. I think you offer this job to Chris Beard tomorrow, he takes it like that because he knows Ole Miss is not nearly the program that Indiana is. Right. It's going from the SEC to the Big Ten, which both conferences are at the top right now. I mean, these are the two best conferences in college basketball. If you say anybody else, you're lying to yourself. And if you, excuse me, if you look at the resources of an Ole Miss compared to the resources of an Indiana, they flat out beat them in every single area. You look at the talent pool of the state of Indiana, they flat out beat them every single time. Like, I get the argument of like, certain schools versus Indiana and stuff like that. I can see different opinions. And I'm with you, like the whole Brad Stevens stuff. I think most Indiana fans, or at least the ones I talk to, know it's kind of a joke at this point. But you're right, there are some out there that legitimately do think they can hire the Celtics.
No, they thought it was a real possibility, I think. And yeah, it's not about like
some do.
Yeah, in Indiana, it's not about the resources. It's about just the expectations and the pressure that are there. Like, you have just a very it's a very high bar, high expectations of the fan base, which that's great. They should have high expectations, but it seems like it's just becoming very difficult to meet those expectations. Now, all they have to do is make the right hire, though. If they, like Illinois did with Brad Underwood, people were kind of just resigned to the fact that it wasn't a good program. And Brad Underwood brought it back because he's an elite program builder, which we know. And he's, we stole him away from Oklahoma State after just 1 year. So it was a surprise hire. You just have to go get your guy that's going to coach his ass off. And Mike Woodson wasn't that guy.
There is one of those guys in the Big Ten, though, that I think is going to be available. Chris Collins. If Indiana went out and got Chris Collins, that would be an excellent hire. You think about it. Chris Collins does not have does not have the NIL backing of most other Big Ten schools. He has academic restrictions, which is what everybody kind of dings Michigan about with their program. Looks like they did okay getting transfers this year, but who knows? That could be harder in the future. But you look at their situation. Northwestern's not going to give Chris Collins what he needs. And Chris Collins has already turned out to be one of the best coaches in Northwestern history. If Indiana went on over to Northwestern and say, hey, you know this area pretty well, you're one state over, come on over to Indiana, it doesn't look like the Duke job is opening up anytime soon. So, you're probably good there. But as far as I'm concerned, like, if Indiana, if they, couldn't get Scott Drew, couldn't get Bruce Pearl, like those guys, you definitely go after a guy like Chris Collins in my mind. You're probably not getting those guys. You're I think they could pay the buyout of Dusty May, but I think that's probably a little unlikely at this point. And I see what they're saying about Chris Beard. So my thing is, you call up Chris Collins right now and you say, we will double whatever NIL Northwestern is giving you and then some.
I think Indiana still thinks that they're too good for hiring Northwestern's coach, but it would be up. I mean, it's a realistic possibility. It's really just up to Collins on whether or not, because he has a job for life at Northwestern, right?
Yeah.
They'll build a statue of him. So do you really want to go to Indiana where there's a very good chance that you will fail there? Or, I mean, maybe he's the type of guy that like wants that challenge. I don't know. He's been at Northwestern for a long time now. I think people forget like how long he's been there. So I think he's one of the longest tenured. I mean, after Izzo, obviously, and then maybe like Fran is in there, but he's one of the longest tenured Big Ten coaches. So I don't know. I don't know if he would be interested in something like that where he could just be the king of Evanston.
11 seasons, appearing in 3 NCAA tournaments. The only appearances in program history for Northwestern all belong to Chris Collins. I get it. Like I get, people's concern and like the status thing. But at a certain point, like if you're Indiana, I get it. But at a certain point, what's more important to you, status or winning? What's more important? Because if status is more important to you, you're not getting Chris Collins, you're not getting Chris Beard, you're trying to hire somebody else, and if that doesn't work out, you're probably hiring Ben McCollum, who, good luck. It could be Archie 2.0, So,
Dan Dockich is available. I know. He would.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be happy to take the job, I think.
They would love Dan Dockich. So,
I think a lot of their fan base would.
All right, so Dusty May, I guess just real quick, like, do you see any possibility of Dusty May after this contract extension going to Indiana? Any possibility?
Never say never, but pretty low possibility. I would be quite shocked.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, we just saw Penn State obliterate Nebraska. We just saw Northwestern obliterate Ohio State on Ohio State's floor. So to me, anything's possible. But...
That's right.
All right, everybody. Hey, we are going to get into some previews really fast with Duke in Illinois and Wisconsin and Oregon. Before we do that, I do want to tell you about CBB Analytics. Go on over to cbbanalytics.com. They have all your stats, everything you need over there. It's fantastic stuff. They do a great job. I know the guy who runs it. His name's Nick. He does awesome work. He is honestly just a great guy who's trying to produce as much of the stats and the content and stuff like that as he possibly can. It's something the coaches use. It's something the fans use. It's really great stuff. If you use code HUDDLE huddle, then you can get $30 off your purchase over there. Check it out. CBB Analytics, they have a free tier. So if you want to check it out first, you're like, I don't know about this, sign up for the free tier, see what it's all about, and then you can use the code HUDDLE huddle for $30 off. All right. That's my ad. Shaps, let's talk. Oh, got the wrong one there. There we go. Let's talk Illinois and Duke. Duke is favored over Illinois in this one by 9 points. Illinois has looked pretty good this season at times. They've also looked not so good at times this season. It's been kind of a roller coaster. Kasparis Jaconis has been a really good player for him. He's obviously going to be somebody that goes high in the draft, but he also has had his slumps at times this year. Brad Underwood has Illinois shooting a lot of threes at times, and then when they try to go away from the threes, things start looking better. But they've also been very sick. So I mean, from your viewpoint, Shaps, what are you looking at here? Is this a game Illinois can win? Are you kind of reserved to the fact of like, we stand no chance, just, enjoy Cooper Flag? What's your thought process here?
Zero expectations going into this one. So just going to try to enjoy it and watch a bunch of lottery picks play each other. Yeah, the Illinois medical staff, I think, is on the hot seat this season. I don't know what the hell's going on over there.
I'm gonna make a video about that one next. I did a Fran McCaffrey hot seat video. I need to do an Illinois medical staff hot seat.
Yeah. We've gone through bouts of mono. We've gone through the entire team basically has had the flu at one point or another. And now the injuries are starting to pile up. Visic has not been 100% for months, it seems like. Now we've lost Merez Johnson probably for the season. So it's been one hit after the other over the past month, especially. It's been a downward spiral, and now we're just basically clinging to the hope. We're on bubble watch officially. The Illini are on bubble watch now. I think we have to at least win one more game to make the tournament. And with the schedule that we have, it's going to be tough. But this Duke game is coming at a truly terrible time. This was hyped up, before the season started. We get Duke, Illinois at the Garden in February, which just never happens. You can see the television ads are still running. There's local radio ads here in Chicago, and so it's mostly just really sad and disappointing that we're not getting that top 10, top 15 matchup of two teams. Duke has been incredible, number one in the Ken Palm. And Illinois, like we just said, is just kind of limping to the finish line. Mono, flu, twisted ankles, broken wrists, Underwood blunders, which we're now calling blundies, at the end of games. I feel like Dumb and Dumber, like our pets' heads are falling off. So everything is going wrong for Illinois. Never say never. Brad's already calling it David versus Goliath, which I don't blame him, I guess. You gotta grasp for something. I just don't know how many healthy bodies we're gonna have for this one. Jake Davis was puking at halftime of the last game, and now he's after he's been thrown into the starting lineup last game. So unless Yaka Jonas has an unbelievable game between him and Will Riley, or if Hummerkaus suddenly starts making 3-pointers, that's really the only hope of trying to keep up with Duke. But I don't know what we're going to do defensively against them. I would think that Merez Johnson would be guarding Cooper Flag, but now it's probably Hummerkaus, who is not a good defender. And he obviously can't guard Flag the entire game. And I don't know who else could possibly do it. Trey White will probably be on him some, but he's undersized for Flag. I mean, obviously Flag's incredible. Like no one's going to completely stop him, but we just don't have the bodies now. If Duke wants, they'll just exploit these matchups. And then down low with, how do you say his name? Maliwatch. I'm talking about their big
your
guy.
Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah.
Common Maliwatch. He's just gotten better and better, and he's turning himself into like a lottery pick as well down low. He's so athletic, and with Avicic not at 100%, Avicic isn't like a great defender in the first place, so that's going to be a real problem. And then you got Concanupple at hitting threes from the outside. Like they're good everywhere. So it could get ugly very quickly because I don't know how we stop them from scoring, even if we are hitting shots. But Brad does have a good history at Madison Square Garden last few years. So maybe he's got a little magic left in him, but
Some Brad magic.
it's
Would love
tough.
to see
It's
it.
tough times.
Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest hope here for Illinois is like maybe what we've been seeing from Duke and ACC play is fool's gold, right? Like the ACC sucks.
Stinks. Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's
For a pro like a conference that used to think it was so great and everything to just completely destroy itself. I mean, some of their best coaches are having just terrible years by their standards, and other coaches are just not fit to be Power 4, Power 5 level head coaches, in my opinion, but they're in the ACC and they're coaching right now. So, I mean, when you have the athleticism and the length and everything that Duke has, there's no reason why you shouldn't be scoring, in the 80s or 90s and the hundreds every single game, right?
yeah.
Like, when you're going up against these guys, you should be able to do that. Now, I'm not trying to come out here and say that Illinois, has like gods on their team of athleticism and it's going to be completely different. But Illinois still does have like longer players who are more athletic than what you're going to see in the ACC. So Illinois, their defense has been terrible lately. One of the worst defensive ratings in all of college basketball in the past 5 games. It's not been where it needs to be at. And when you don't have defense, it's hard to convert that into offense. I've railed on Brad Underwood for his issues. You guys go back to last weekend. I did an entire segment on how Brad Underwood is right. This team is Final Four good, but unfortunately the coach isn't Final Four good right now. I didn't say all like forever, but at least right now he's not Final Four good, and that's to me Brad Underwood is one of the pieces that's holding this team back right now. So if Brad Underwood can put together a good defensive game plan, not a great defensive game plan, and he can get these guys to actually start going at the basket, maybe shoot some free throws. You're a really good free throw shooting team. Maybe get yourself to the line, get Duke in foul trouble. You could see them making this a game. But unfortunately, right now, like that's not what Brad Underwood has these guys doing. And I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much blame on Brad Underwood. Maybe this is
No.
on the players and their lack of fire or whatever. I don't know. But Shaps, you tell me, man. Like, are you as critical of Brad Underwood as I am right now?
Yeah, we've been very critical of Undy during this season and especially recent months. We think that he could have built up much better lead, earlier in the season and separated himself in the Big Ten, but they just didn't do that because they had a lot of last second losses, a lot of blundies down the stretch of close games where he's not, calling a timeout. He's not setting up his defense. He doesn't have the right people on the court at the right time. So there's been a lot of issues with that. He's not done a good job coaching. Both things are true that this team has been snake bitten. They're very young and inexperienced, but Brad has done a very poor job of coaching them this season as well. The talent is not the issue. But the ceiling of this team, we heard it all season long. Like this is a Final Four potential team. The ceiling is so high.
Brad said it. Like he said it
Yeah.
in a press conference.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He had a painting of the Alamo at their first practice. He was clear on what the expectations were for this season. But as the season went along, we understood what was holding it back, and it wasn't the play of the freshmen. It was the coach. The coach was holding this team back from reaching its ceiling. That was clear early on this year. We hoped things would improve, but they have not at all. He continues to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And so the expectations have gone down and down with each game because we're not seeing the improvements on the coaching side. The offense is terrible. They're a bad 3-point shooting team, but they shoot 35 threes a game, which doesn't make any sense at all. When you have all these incredible athletes on the court that are so dynamic, but you're not running an offense that's playing to their strengths at all.
And you're not playing Trey White. You're not playing Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. Like,
Yeah, it didn't make any sense when he did that. Last week or two, he basically said that Trey White's not going to play anymore because these games are too important, and it's getting towards the end of the season, and he was just cut out of the rotation. Now he's being forced to play Trey White again, but it seems like Trey White's kind of like checked out already. So he's done a terrible job of managing the roster and keeping people. I know, like, it's hard to keep everyone happy, but he refuses to just play his best players at certain times, which is very frustrating to watch. Like I said, we were so pumped for this game against Duke because it is I think it's literally the two tallest teams in the country, roster wise. And like the two
yeah.
best rebounding teams in the country, like just athletes all over the court. It was going to be a very, very fun game to watch, whichever way it went. Now, shorthanded Illini, Blundies, we're not feeling super confident. The 8.5, 9-point spread, pretty surprising. I think Illinois still looks good with the metrics, and maybe that's playing into the line a little bit. Maybe what you said about the ACC, and like the belief of just like Duke might not be as good, as they appear to be. So maybe this game will be a little bit closer. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for at least some entertainment. On what could have been, should have been a really, really fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I can reach out to John Shire and see if he can take it easy. I did play Little League Baseball with him, and
Oh, there
like
we go.
YMCA basketball. So that's my best route probably right now is seeing if John can be a little nice to his home state team.
Well, you need to, Etch makes a good point here. Does Ben Hummerhouse have a P tape on Underwood? You just need to find a P tape on John Shire and, and hold it against him. Like, if you play
Yeah.
Cooper Flag for over 20 minutes in this game,
Yeah,
I'll
John
release it.
was pretty squeaky clean, but I think I could do some digging into his background. I could contact some shady people from his high school. So it's a possibility there.
Dr. Spin says Shire's clean, but Brad does have PP tapes.
Yeah,
Tapes.
we've wondered this for quite a while now. We can't figure out why he plays Ben Hummerhouse like 35 minutes a game, and he's in the end of close games after he's gone 0 for 8 from 3, and we can't come up with a reasonable explanation. The best excuse we've come up with is he has to have a P tape or something. He has to have something on Undy because I would at least understand it then.
I'm trying to remember what game it was early in the season. Maybe it was it was Northwestern. It was
Yeah,
Northwestern. Ben
we were at that
Hummerhouse
game. Yeah.
played. Yes, he played 39 minutes in that game. It went to
Yep.
overtime, and he's 1 for 9 from 3. And I was like, why in the world? And I thought like, okay, maybe Brad's learned from his lesson, and we'll stop playing him. But he plays more than Trey White, and I'm just like, what in the world? Why is this happening? So
Yeah, if you rewatch that game, you could probably hear the Java men up in the upper bowl at Welsh Ryan Arena screaming, "Get Ben out of the game, Undy! What are you doing?" Merez didn't play in the second half of that game
yeah,
as we watched a double-digit lead just melt away. with Ben just launching threes. But yeah, he it's like, and then he'll come back the next game and it's like, oh, Ben only played, 25 minutes in this game. It's like, okay, maybe he's learning. And then the next game, it's like right back to what he knows. He's very, very stubborn. Um,
Which
doesn't like to
stubbornness,
coach the game right in front of him.
like sometimes stubbornness can be okay. Like there are some teams that maybe the player doesn't have it for most of the game, but it comes into clutch time and he does have it. Like I don't want to try to act like that's not a viable coaching method at times, but I haven't seen Ben Hummerkaus have it. If I saw him have it, I would maybe think differently. But I haven't. Like he's a guy, like
Yeah.
he goes out there, he can give you some good defensive minutes at times. He can go out there and be a good spacer on the court, but he's he's not going to be an impact player, especially at the end of the game, consistently at least. So,
Very true. Yep.
all right. Anything else in this game before we move on?
I don't know. Undy is an elite program builder, still really stinks at coaching in games. And unless he makes, some staff changes, maybe gets a real offensive coordinator that's not his son
I've heard that
in the
complaint.
off
Yes.
season, then there's some hope. Just depends on if he would actually listen to anyone else. We don't know.
Yep. We'll see.
Time
Well,
will
but
tell.
on the other hand, if Illinois beats Duke, you heard it here first. It's because the ACC is trash and the Big Ten is better, and we gave you the blueprint there. So there you go.
Yeah, if Illinois beats Duke, we're back. We're back sewn in.
Mm-hmm.
The human centipede is going to be fully reattached, and we'll be booking flight. Basically, how this game goes is we're either booking flights to San Antonio or we're booking flights to Dayton for the first four. That's what this game holds. Yeah.
Yeah. As somebody from Ohio, you would rather book flights to San Antonio than Dayton.
I mean, yeah.
That's just that's my analysis. All right. Wisconsin is favored over Oregon by 8.5. Shaps, Oregon looked like a possible national championship contender at one point this season. I mean, they were winning all their out of conference games. There for a while, they had the most quad one wins in the Big Ten, and then they just decided to start losing to everybody. And then they started playing Rutgers and Northwestern and Iowa. And Nate Biddle blocks a game-winning three-pointer from Josh Dix last game, and it's like Oregon's back, or are they? Wisconsin is the real deal in my mind. I think that Wisconsin has a very good argument, if not they are the team with the most potential this year in the Big Ten to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. That offensive firepower, John Tonji, everything that they bring to the table. I am just so enamored with this Wisconsin team. Even going into that Purdue game, I was thinking to myself, like, if they get the right shots and they start hitting, they're going to take it to Purdue. And long and behold, they shot what 60% in that game, and they did. They took it to Purdue, and Purdue had no defensive answer for the corner three-pointer that Wisconsin was out there with. So I don't think Oregon has a defensive answer either. But this is a team that we did see really good gameplay from early in the year, and they have won their last 3 games, albeit against bad competition in close games, but they have won. So, Shabs, does Oregon have any chance here against Wisconsin?
Yeah, they have a chance, but Wisconsin has just looked so good lately. They beat the crap out of us, which not that great of an accomplishment, but it was the first time they beat us in 10 tries. So credit to Greg Gard, but yeah, Tanji's been incredible for them. He's turned into Johnny Davis from a few years ago. Just at times putting the team on his back. And it's not even like they're running anything super complicated. It's mostly just ball screens and Blackwell and Tanjay just creating off the dribble. And you have to respect their big guys that can step out and shoot. So like if those guards just get an inch, they're blowing right past you. Tanji was hitting step back threes against us. Yeah, it's been a really impressive run for them. They keep getting better. we see it a lot with these Wisconsin teams in past too. Like they always get like a couple really marquee non-conference wins, and then like all the Big Ten hits and they just crash back down to earth very quickly, and don't have a lot of success in March. But this team does seem to be a little bit different. I don't think. I mean, I think they'll win this game, but I wouldn't put it past Oregon. Like Wisconsin can have an off shooting night. If their big guys are getting into foul trouble, things can change quickly. Like I think Nate Biddle can have a pretty good game against their bigs. Like they're not overly impressive, but they just the way that they stretch you out, is like frustrating to play against. But yeah, really, really good defense on their guards, which is hard to do. But you never know if you can make shots. We just haven't seen Oregon beat a good team in quite a while. They've really struggled, traveling to the Central Time Zone. Barely beat Iowa, like you mentioned. So yeah, it's going to be tough. Oh, I had a stat on Tanjay too. So on their 5-game win streak, he's averaging 25 points per game during this 5-game win streak. In his last 8 games, he only has 1 game where he's scored less than 20 points.
Jeez.
And that was, I think he scored 15 points in that 1 game.
Wow.
So he's on an absolute tear, and he is now challenging Braden Smith for player of the year.
Yeah.
Making
I mean,
push.
I think the game that really made me start believing in Wisconsin, I think it was that USC game on the road when Tanji just gave them nothing. I don't even think he scored in that game. And
that was like his last terrible game. Yeah, and they still won.
Yeah, and they won it convincingly too, 84-69. Now, that's, USC is not a great team by any means, but, they still have some good players, and Eric Musselman's a good coach. Like, we've seen him accomplish a good amount when he was at Arkansas, but he's, starting off a little slow here at USC, as you would, bringing in a bunch of new players. Not everybody's Dusty May and can just bring in, a 7-footer that plays point guard. Which, like, how was he 77th in the transfer portal? I have no idea.
I don't know. I wanted him so bad at
Right?
Illinois. That guy's Danny Wolf. He's a unicorn out there.
Yeah.
He's so fun to like watch because he's just so different. He's humongous, and he has these like guard type moves.
Yeah.
He's very fun. But yeah,
it is. But as far as like Wisconsin goes, like that, and they lost that next game against UCLA on the road. Now they lost late in that game, and so even after that, I was telling people like Wisconsin's for real. Well, they lose 2 of their next 3, and people are like, "Nah, Wisconsin's not for real." And I'm like, guys, no, I'm telling you, like I know they just lost to UCLA and Maryland, but like this team is really good. And I was even telling Kent about it on one of our power ranking shows. I was like, they're gonna get a big win here soon. Like it's gonna happen. And long and behold, they go to Purdue, get that huge win. They're able to beat Illinois, which I don't know if you think it's a huge win or not. I still think it's a big win. I still think it's a big win.
Yeah.
I mean,
big.
You look at the athleticism and everything that we're talking about with Illinois. It's still a really talented team. So to be able to beat them by, what was it, 21 in that game, like that's still a big win to me. So I really like this Wisconsin team right now. This Oregon team, that like I said, they won their past 3, but they're just not trending in the right direction right now. Oh, you're an Oregon fan too, huh, Shaps?
I got my Oregon cup from when I went to Eugene for the Illinois football game in the fall. Kept this cool cup with me.
Nice. But Oregon Illinois game probably would have been more fun to go to.
The basketball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But the football stadium was incredible to be there. Yeah, they kicked our ass, but it was still pretty fun.
Yeah.
That is an incredible campus.
Yeah. That's what I've heard from every single person who goes there. It's just like, like we expected it to be good, but it just it kind of blows away your expectations, which I think is really cool. I'm really glad Oregon's in the Big Ten. As I pretty much trash them this entire preview.
I'm glad I got an excuse to go check it out.
I mean, I'm really not trying to trash Oregon as much as I'm just trying to say like Wisconsin really freaking good. Took them, a good amount of time to, really find themselves. They had that 3-game losing streak where they lost to Michigan, Marquette, and Illinois. But as you look at it now, like they look unbeatable at this point. And I don't know who the next team's going to beat them is because they really have nobody else on their schedule other than Michigan State that's going to give them a hard game. So,
yeah, they're in a good spot. Like we said, if Michigan State, I think Michigan State will definitely lose again because they have a tough stretch coming up, and then obviously they play Michigan again at the end of the season. So the Cheese are in a good spot. But either way, I think they'll be, I think they could be like a 2 seed if they keep this up.
Oh yeah. The only thing that could mess it up for the Cheese are the Zebras. That's the only thing that could mess it up. But even then,
the Zebras can always.
The Cheese are blowing so many teams out. They tried to mess it up against Purdue with ejecting Kamari McGee, but no dice.
That was pretty funny. Did you see High Knees tonight? I cannot not watch him. Like, I hate him so much. But yeah, they brought out the big guns tonight with Benetti, Hummel, Raftery, and High Knees. I couldn't believe they got that whole crew together.
It was must-see television. Those knees almost go as high as Danny Wolf is. I mean, High Knees out there. It's
gets it done.
Stuff. What was the game earlier in the year when he it was a Michigan game, I think, where he got caught in between the players and
that was Illinois.
Oh, was it Illinois? Okay.
That was Illinois against oh my God, who was that against?
Was it the rematch of Northwestern?
No, it wasn't Northwestern. Oh man, this is gonna kill me. Maybe somebody in the chat remembers who that was.
Who was
against? But it was Illinois, where basically Jeffrey Anderson set a screen. Like it was like he screened off 2 Illinois players and allowed somebody Rutgers. Thank you, Philip. Yeah, Rutgers, it was against Rutgers. Like was driving and literally like there he is doing his high knees just right down the middle of the court. Had no idea that Ace Bailey was like bearing down on him, and he took out 2 Illini players while Ace Bailey was driving to the basket. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Too focused on the high knees. Needs to be a little more focused on the game that's in front of him.
So. Yeah, well, he knows everyone's there to see him. Mm-hmm. You know, it's all about him. He's in control. He's the new Teddy Valentine.
That's what I was gonna say. What was that other guy's name? Yeah, Teddy Valentine.
TV Ted.
My
sure everyone. I had to put on a show. Everyone was there to see TV Ted. Now everyone's there to see High Knees.
That is literally my first memory of watching Big Ten basketball with my dad growing up. Is him yelling at Teddy Valentine and being like, "Get off the screen! Like, stop running out in the middle of the court to make your call." You know?
Yeah. The Orange Crush used to just lay into him. Oh yeah. Every single game,
as they should.
He would just laugh.
Well, he got what he wanted. He was the star of the show, and everybody give him attention. So it's that whole no publicity is bad publicity, right?
Very true. Although I'll give them credit. Like, I thought they actually officiated a pretty good game tonight. Like, it didn't stand out to me, you know. It wasn't very noticeable. So that's good. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, we talked about a game tonight and previewed other games and never talked once about the refs. So other than the one time, but that was pretty forced on us. So, all right, everybody. That's the show for you. Big Ten After Dark. We'll be back tomorrow. Me and Burke from Often Daunted podcast. If you want to hear more of Shaps, head on over to the Java Men podcast. Shaps, where can people find it at?
Yep, at Illini_Java Men on Twitter, on the X. We're not on Blue Sky yet. And you can find our podcast, Illini, or Java Men Fighting Illini podcast on Spotify. If we beat Duke tomorrow, I might have to hop on whatever show you're doing, JR.
Yeah, it'll be me and Burke tomorrow night, and that's gonna be the the game that we start off with. So, get your mic ready if it looks like Illinois is going to win it, because we'll welcome you on.
We'll be ready to go. Hopefully, it's not a close game at the end and we get another Blondie. But fingers crossed.
There we go. We'll see. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. Thank you to all the Java men in the chat. You guys are blowing up the chat tonight. We appreciate it. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good one. See ya.